They dragged Captain Rylan Cade through the crystal-lit halls of the Varelian palace, his boots scraping against polished obsidian tiles. His wrists were bound in energy cuffs, humming with a soft violet light, and his once pristine Earth Federation uniform was torn, bloodied from a dozen skirmishes. Outside, the skies of Delvanis burned. The invasion had failed. And now he was to die. The two Varelian guards at his side, tall and serpentine with bioluminescent scales, kept their weapons trained on him as they entered the throne chamber. It was massive, cavernous, lined with metallic vines and glowing flora native to their jungle homeworld. The air pulsed with heat and tension. Dozens of alien eyes turned toward the defeated human, curious, judgmental, even disgusted. At the far end of the chamber, seated on a floating, crescent-shaped throne of shimmering crystal, was Queen Zyraxa. She was unlike the rest of her kind. Where most Varelians were lean and wiry, the queen radiated power and elegance. Her scales gleamed like liquid sapphire, and her head was adorned with a crown that curled like twin antlers of starlight. Her golden eyes locked on him with a cold intensity that made his spine stiffen. "Human," she said, her voice smooth but edged like a blade. "You led the assault on our world. You desecrated our sacred groves. You ordered the deaths of thousands." Rylan lifted his chin. "I did what I had to. Earth was starving. You refused our envoys. We came to negotiate, but you slaughtered our diplomats. You came to take," she snapped. "To colonize. To consume." The room filled with hisses of agreement. "I won't beg," Rylan said flatly. "Do what you came to do." The queen rose, floating forward on a soft magnetic hum. Her gaze didn't waver. "I sentenced you to death before I saw you," she said. "Before I felt your mind in the battle net. You fought not like a conqueror, but like a shield." He frowned. "What are you talking about?" "We linked with your neural pattern when your ship breached the high atmosphere. Varelians connect in war, mind to mind. And in your thoughts I found." She paused, voice quieting. "Compassion, sacrifice, loyalty." He said nothing. Let her finish whatever this was. "You fought to protect your soldiers, not to destroy us. You took the brunt of every blast, every decision. You gave yourself up so the others could retreat. Why?" "Because they're my people," he growled. "Because someone had to make it out alive." The queen studied him for a long, excruciating moment. Then she turned to her council. "Our ways are ancient," she said to them. "But they must not be immutable. In this human, I see the fire of the old protectors. I see a king's heart." A gasp rippled through the room. "I ordered his death," she declared. "But I offer him life." Her eyes returned to Rylan. "Captain Cade, I ask. No, I offer. Will you become my consort, my war king? Not as a prisoner but as an equal. Together we could unite our peoples, heal the wounds, strengthen both of our worlds." He stared at her. Was this a trick? A public execution turned political theater? "You want me," he said slowly, "to marry the queen who tried to kill me?" Zyraxa tilted her head. "I want you to help lead a future where we do not have to kill." Rylan let out a breath. The pain in his side throbbed. His vision wavered. And yet, something in her tone struck him. There was weariness behind her regal mask. Hope buried deep. "I'm not royalty," he said. "I'm just a soldier." She stepped closer. "Then lead like one." The wedding was a fusion of flame and starlight. Varelians did not marry as humans did. The ceremony was one of binding minds and spirits, of shared memory, shared will. When Rylan stood before the great convergence tree in the heart of the palace garden, he was bathed in liquid light. Virelian shamans chanted in their swirling dialect, while Earth representatives, finally allowed to land under strict ceasefire terms, watched in awe. As the queen placed a crystalline circlet upon his brow, she leaned in and whispered, "They will never stop testing us. We must be stronger than them all." He nodded, heart-thudding. The bond began that night. Not of love, at least not yet, but of trust, of understanding. In the months that followed, Rylan adjusted to his new role with all the grace of a soldier learning ballet. Diplomatic talks were grueling. The Earth Federation distrusted him, suspecting brainwashing or betrayal. He was accused of collusion, of cowardice, of going native. But Rylan had one advantage. The Queen stood by him. Together they created a joint task force, Virelian Human, focused on rebuilding ruined infrastructure and sharing tech advancements. Virelian healing techniques began saving human lives. Human construction drones helped restore scorched jungle sanctuaries. There were protests, yes, riots even, but momentum built. He'd earned a new nickname, the War King of Peace. Still, not all were pleased. One evening, as the twin moons of Delvanis rose over the spire towers, Zyraxa called Rylan into her private quarters. She dismissed the guards, unarmed herself, and motioned him to sit. "There are whispers," she said. "Assassins among my court. Some believe I've gone mad. That I've forsaken our traditions for a warmongering ape." Rylan frowned. "I figured. They wouldn't dare while I'm breathing." She gave a wry smile. "They dare more every day." He leaned forward. "Then let's smoke them out." She looked at him, really looked at him, and something changed in her expression. Less regal. More vulnerable. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Which part?" "Not dying when I ordered it." Rylan considered. "At first, yeah. But now, well, you gave me something I never expected. A chance to do more than fight. A chance to build." She nodded slowly. "Then we must build stronger. Before they tear it all down." The attempt came a week later. During a public festival honoring the First Peace Accords, one of the royal stewards, a high-ranking noble, lunged from the crowd with a hidden pulse blade. He wasn't aiming for the queen. He was aiming for Rylan. The blade struck his shoulder, searing deep into flesh, but before the assassin could finish the job, Zyraxa blasted him with a kinetic wave that sent his broken body flying into a fountain. Rylan collapsed. Darkness took him. He woke in the crystal infirmary, arm immobilized, body aching. The queen sat beside him, scales dim with exhaustion. "You nearly died," she whispered. "Again." He chuckled weakly. "Gotta keep the tradition alive." She took his hand. "I felt the pain. Through our bond. I've never felt anything like that." He squeezed her fingers. "That's the downside of marriage." She didn't laugh. Her expression was unreadable. "I can't lose you," she said. "Not to them. Not to war." "You won't," he promised. And in that moment something changed between them. Not duty. Not alliance. But something human. And something very Virelian. A year passed. Together they formed the Accord Worlds Alliance, a governing body of representatives from both Earth and Delvanis. Trade blossomed. Science surged. Even rogue fleets stood down, unwilling to challenge the combined might of two worlds now bonded by more than treaties. But the threats never truly disappeared. One final trial awaited them. The Ark Syndicate. A galactic mercenary group, older than either species' governments, had begun destabilizing border colonies. They despised the unity forged between Earth and Delvanis. It threatened their control. When they launched coordinated strikes, Rylan and Zyraxa led from the front. In twin capital ships, side by side, they orchestrated a defense that would be studied for centuries. And when the final Ark's dreadnought fell in orbit over the moons of Alaris, the galaxy changed. They returned to Delvanis not as queen and consort, but as heroes. No longer questioned, no longer doubted. In a private ceremony under the starlit vines of the Convergence tree, Zyraxa and Rylan renewed their vows. Not for the world, not for politics, but for each other. "You were once my prisoner," she whispered. "And you were once my executioner," he replied. She smiled. "Now you are my heart. And you are my home." Final ending continued. The war was over. Not just the battles with weapons, but the quiet wars, of suspicion, of prejudice, of fear. Earth and Delvanis had become more than allies. They were family now. Two very different species, united by what they once feared in each other, and now cherished. Rylan stood on the balcony of the new joint capital, the twin flags of Earth and Delvanis fluttering behind him. The city below was alive with celebration. Humans and Varelians walking side by side, laughing, trading, dancing beneath floating lanterns powered by a hybrid of both civilizations' tech. Behind him, Zyraxa approached, her presence a soothing hum in his mind. "They asked me today if you were still human," she said quietly. He smiled. "Let me guess, they think I've changed too much." "Quite the opposite," she replied. "They said you were the most human thing in this galaxy. That it was your humanity that saved us." He turned to her. "Do you believe that?" She studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "I do. But not because you were stronger or smarter, or more stubborn than the rest." She stepped close, her golden eyes gleaming. "It was your capacity to forgive. A hope. Even after I ordered your death." He took her hand, their fingers interwoven now with comfort instead of caution. "And you didn't just spare me, you gave me purpose." They stood in silence as fireworks of both human chemistry and Varelian plasma burst across the sky, reflecting off the spires and canopies. "I think," he said softly, "we've proven something important. That even the most unlikely of enemies can become the greatest of partners," she offered. He chuckled. "That too. But more than that." He looked out across the united city, his voice deep and certain. "That humanity isn't defined by Earth. It's defined by how far we're willing to go for peace, for love, for something bigger than ourselves." She rested her forehead to his, an ancient Varelian gesture of intimacy. And together they watched the stars rise. Not as conqueror and queen, not as human and alien, but as king and queen of a new era, where unity, not war, would shape the galaxy to come.